real heat maker.
All right, so we're gonna get rolling. First of all, thank you for coming in. Welcome to the ring.
I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to be here. Sharp vision inside the ring. I'm excited,
no
man.
doubt. So one of the things I definitely wanted, like I said, and we talked a little bit off camera. Always respect your energy, and I can see kind of your vision. Working with the youth. Like my first question is like, how did you get started? Like, how did you get started in kind of doing what you do?
So I want to say March of 1994. A couple kids around 38th and Poplar approached me. They listen, cool man, we don't have anybody in our neighborhood that do anything for us, and we love basketball, but there's no teams or anything like that. So my initial reaction was, man, I'm a manager, I'm running the listening, I don't have time for that.
Right.
Like at that time, I'm messing with a bunch of girls, and like, no, I can't do it. So I went home and I thought about it. My brother goes, you just go down the playground, check them out.
Right.
So I went on the playground, and this is what sold me. It wasn't the basketball. One of the kids who asked me, Robert White, he getting off doing this thing. They playing him physical, almost a bullying style. So I'm like, damn, they bullying him. This kid ain't gonna get no shine down here.
Right.
See the way they treating him. So Rob White, Gregory Wade, Allen Henderson. Those were the three kids that approached me. So I pull them aside. I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this. I don't know. I'm a fish out of water. I don't know. So I take them. I'm looking in the paper now. Where's the basketball league? No practices, no nothing.
Right.
So I see Abington YMCA. Not paying attention that this thing said adult league, right? And I got a bunch of 12, 13, and 14-year-olds.
You got the young bucks.
Yeah, so I signed up. This thing expensive too. So I'm like, all right, every Saturday we're gonna jump in the car, we're gonna go down.
Right.
We go to our first game. So we play a squad. Now a couple of these dudes is like Syracuse dudes or whatever. So we get mopped by 40.
Damn.
Like it was bad. But again, these are kids playing against adults. So
Right.
man, let me tell you something. These kids were resilient.
Absolutely.
Look, y'all, we won't stay in this thing. We won't battle.
Dope.
Practice every day and night. We never had to ask them to show up. None of that. They beat me there. They stayed after I left. We got better. We ended up finishing 10-2.
Nice. What?
10-2.
10-2.
And made it to the chip.
Wow.
And you know what kind of helped? And this is where I think guys get lost when they think that giving back means that you financially have to do something. Sometimes it's just your words and your presence.
Absolutely.
Never forget this. Sad Eye and them was playing. So it was two divisions. So Sad Eye and them playing in the other division. And we're running. Sad come over and he say to one of the kids, hang in there. One of the other guys came over, coach, don't give up. Like, just keep pushing.
Right.
Let me tell you something, man. These kids kept pushing. We pushed all the way till we lost to Cobbs Creek.
Right.
We lost to Cobbs Creek in the chip.
Who was on that Cobbs Creek team? Anybody?
Man, I forget. I forget right now. I'm gonna get killed for. I'm gonna get killed for not remembering names.
Right.
So
the only reason why I asked because I know and in Philly, a lot of times in rec leagues back then, it was some NBA type young players, man. Like during that time, and just in general, Philly is a basketball town.
Right.
So if you lose sometime down the line in a rec league in Philly, you probably lost to a future superstar.
And it was. They were loaded with talent. Now, these were guys who had gone on to coach high school, and that's why I'm mad at myself that I can't remember the names. But it was big time basketball, and we held our own. Like I believe we ended up losing in overtime, but it was a great experience, and it was a great first experience because to get mopped by 40 your first game, and end up making it to the chip.
Man, that's incredible, and it speaks to so much what sports is about, like building character. I mean, that's what you did. You stuck in there. Look, guys, we're gonna do this and third, and they overcame. So with you just stepping up and like that story, stepping up and being that leader in a sense, because you had to be the one to represent them as far as on the sidelines. So it wasn't just them that got mopped by 40. You got mopped by 40, but you stayed in it and stayed with it. And that taught them a life lesson, man. And that's incredible, man. That's an incredible story. What things changed the most since like the 90s time? I mean, we're in 2020 now. What's the most significant change that you've seen so far, like in present day?
People. Biggest change, people. In the 90s, there were no bickering. Like I explained to you before, we had Lynn, we had Raj Brokenborough, and they both played for Brother Leon. And Brother Leon and I could have been fussing, you took my player, we didn't do all of that. It's like, all right, well, Lynn gonna go play over here, Raj gonna play here, and that's how we built. And if I wasn't playing, knock yourself out, go over there, get all the basketball experience you can, all the games that you can. So I just want to see you win. And more importantly, for me, bigger than any of that other stuff, knowing that for those couple hours, you're within the safe haven and you're protected and that guy has your best interest at heart.
Right.
Go do it. Go do it. Nowadays, if you do that, guys seem to kind of want all the credit. So if a kid makes it, it's like, oh, he's my guy. I had him all along.
I see that a lot. Yeah, I do see that.
I had him all along, and you hear that expression. He's still kids. Come on. It's not about that. If it's truly about the kid, the individual, then you remove yourself from it.
Right. And I see that a lot, man. And it's weird because it's like this ownership thing. I own this kid. Yeah. Like we're trying to break away from somebody owning somebody. You know what I mean? Yeah. How you gonna say you own a kid? You know, like you said, be a part of the journey. You know what I mean? And ultimately, if that kid appreciates it, it's going to come back to you, not tenfold. You know what I mean? If it comes from an honest place.
I have stories in personal testimony that when you do good and your heart's in the right place, you will be rewarded.
Right.
One way or another, you'll be rewarded, even if at the time you can't even see it.
Right.
It comes back.
Right. That's a great point that you make, and that's another reason why. And we talked a little bit off camera, like creating this platform for guys like you who I think deserve to be acknowledged. You know, because I mean, you talked about like shunning sort of the spotlight, so to speak, because it's not your story, and that's what it's all about, man. And that leads me kind of to my next question. You know, outside of learning basketball, what else do you think, you know, kids can learn from the game, or just people in general learn from the game of basketball?
I think if coaches are open-minded, if the parents are open-minded, and more importantly, the kids, you know, there's those 4 C's: confidence, consistency, commitment, character. Like all of those things, they happen almost by osmosis. Like, you know, you can't help but if you're doing it the right way by gaining those things. Right. And when that happens, you're not just building for basketball. You're building for mankind. Like you are now putting something into the earth that is going to be successful. Because once you plant those seeds, they're going to grow. Right. And if you start with that, you can't go wrong. It's near impossible. And that's why I think it's important that when guys do it and you make that commitment yourself, that you remove yourself and don't block the way of their personal growth. Because like I may know more business stuff than you may know. You may know more basketball than me. I can't stand in the way of you stepping in and saying, hey, I like what you're doing with him, but I can give him this. Right. Brother, come on.
Right. Let's do it together.
Come on, because if he wins, we win.
We win. Absolutely.
We win. And that's it. And you don't got to drop the flag for me like that's the guy over there. He was the one. No, I don't need all of that. I just need you to be better. Right. And if you are better today than you were yesterday, we're winning.
We winning. So, I mean, you talked about it a lot already, but, you know, just, you know, clarify, why do you think it's important to give back to the community? Because obviously you made it a life mission of yours in a sense, since that one time when you got blown out, after you got blown out by 40, you know, since then, why do you think it's important to give back to the community?
Well, it kind of goes, again, back to growth. Like you can't sit back and then complain about gun violence and complain about the different things that are happening in our community if you yourself aren't a part of the development of our youth. Right. We've had our day in the sun. Right. You know, who we are is who we are. Facts. Who we're going to be. Right. I got to see this kid be better. Right. And I just don't want this kid. I need a posse of them. I need more. Right. And then the more seeds I plant, I know the future is going to be even brighter, because if one or two of them decide to give back, that's even greater. And we're, as a people, we're stronger together. That's why I find it important, and it shouldn't just be basketball. I think nurses should cut out of food, so they're developing young ladies. Doctors, the same. Not the end game. We know that it was hard for you to get there, but what did it take?
And I agree with that. And not to cut you off, but I wanted to interject on that point, because you make a very important point. Why is it so? It's so sort of prevalent that you have athletes we're constantly pushing sports, but you very rarely see like a nurse come back into, I don't know, a rec center and hold a nursing workshop or whatever, just to introduce young women and presenting different avenues to them. Because we got to stop talking about it's either sports or rap. Like, we got to create these different avenues and make them real, make them tangible, where they can touch. You can go out and touch a black doctor. You can go out and touch a black lawyer, a black engineer. You know what I'm saying? A mechanic, whatever it is. They can go out and have a conversation and see that they are real people. It's not this abstract idea that's unattainable.
Because what we have created, when I say we, I mean the social media culture, is we promote and we get excited about the rappers, the singers, the ball players. What about everybody else?
Exactly.
How do they know that, I can really make a good life for myself? Being a doctor, being a nurse, being a computer science guy, like that, there's other avenues. Like,
I think more teachers, man, because we need people. We need to really take over the education standpoint, because we need people who really understand their background and be able to touch them before they even try to teach them about the A, B's, and C's. You know what I'm saying? Like, before we can get into the academics, can I trust you? Do I know you? Do you have my best interests at heart? Because if kids feel as though they don't trust whoever's trying to educate, I mean, you see that in basketball. If there's no connection with you, are you gonna be able to coach those guys? You know what I mean? It's the same thing with education. I think we need to get more people involved with teaching, and we just don't see it enough.
And you're right, because the black experience is that like no other. The good, the bad there is nothing like
extremes.
There is nothing like it. So who better to teach, develop, and mold than somebody who's actually been there?
Like, who is the most memorable guy that, I mean, other people may know that you have coached and impacted? You were sharing that story earlier. You were talking about that a little bit.
All right, so I would say I'm biased when it comes to my guys.
Okay.
So from JK to Fuzz Wilson to Kobe, Joe Brown to Robert White to all those guys, they're all equal to me, right?
Right, absolutely.
Now, but if I'm being honest, and the guy who's had the most impact in the game of basketball would probably be Kobe. But here's what's crazy. My history with Kobe is greater than basketball, because it wasn't really what was shared on the basketball court. Like, I could tell you, he turned it out when he played down 38th Street. Naturally, right? And at the time, I didn't even know Kobe was who he was. Like, I remember Joe Brown throwing up a lob that was meant for Keith, who played with us from 48th Street, and Keith couldn't get it, and it was like God dropped Kobe from the clouds, and it was this thunderous dunk, and the whole crowd ran on the court.
It was great. I got a crazy story, like not knowing who he was too. Like, one time I was involved in a workout, and it just so happened Kobe was there. And I just saw this kid running around. I mean, Kobe was maybe a couple years younger than me or whatever. And it was just, the talent was just immense. You know, it was just incredible how talented this dude was. So he was so good, because the workout was at LaSalle. And the kid was so good, I actually thought, I left there thinking he played for LaSalle already. And he was like a sophomore in high school. That's how good he was, because he was already, he was starting to fill out already. I mean, that's how he was able to make that jump from high school to the league, because his body was, his shoulders was already there. I mean, he was slim, but he had the pro body was developing.
His mind was strong. I remember, so going to every game. Like, you look at some of the newspaper clippings, you'll probably see me somewhere in the crowd. So going to the games, like his whole, I will say, like Angie, Gale, Les, Ronnie, Kelly, Jocelyn, those guys were all super supportive of Kobe, right?
Right.
So we'd go to every game we could get to, right? So we go to this one game, and I forget who they were playing at the time, but Kobe could have easily had 50 if he wanted to. Right? So one of the kids was talking trash because he felt like he was a reason for Kobe having, from a scoring standpoint, a light game. So I'm telling Kobe, so we get back to Lighty Avenue, and I'm hot. I'm like, Kobe, what's up, man? Why ain't you destroy this kid, man? I can guard you or whatever. And this kid made me feel like I was a child and he was the adult.
What?
And he said, listen, I could get mine anytime I want.
What?
That game wasn't for me to shine. That game was for me to make everybody else around me better. It was an opportunity to give them a chance to get buckets and do this and that.
Ain't that deep?
And when he's saying this, right now, mind you, I'm always head held high, and I'm looking at it, and he's saying this, and I'm like, damn.
Right.
That's what basketball is all about.
And it show you the level of thinker he was. You know, a lot of people are surface level thinkers.
Right.
He was already thinking on, you know, a deeper level with his content. You know what I mean? Like he was, you know, he was something special, man.
Yep, he was, and I told you my Raj Broken Borough story, like the success I've had with Raj, not just on the basketball court. Now Raj is responsible for a lot of championships.
Right.
But what he did for me off the court, what we did for one another, been bigger.
That's dope. I actually won a championship with Raj myself. Like for Airborne, I was telling you, we won a championship like 14 and under, way back in the day. We was little babies running around, but. Yeah, Raj is, you know, Raj is Raj, man.
No, he's something else. He's something else. He's just somebody. As much as I love him, I'm not gonna talk Ben Simmons with him.
I know that's right. Don't talk Ben Simmons with Raj. Yeah.
Everything else,
it's like he possessed. He turned like there's an exorcism going on or something. Right.
Like even Larry Strand, Maurice Maxwell, like I can give you a story for each kid. And I know every kid from '94 to present day that ever played for me. I know the teams that I sponsor, all of those rosters.
That's incredible, man. That's an incredible story. And like I said, that's another reason why, you know, I respect guys like you, because guys like you are who created platforms for me to get better as a player. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for those guys giving back, giving in time, you know what I mean, who knows where I would be, you know, as a player, because basketball, it saves a lot of lives, you know. And we talk about, you know, that being just the outlet, but ultimately basketball did create opportunity for me to get an education, move on, travel the world, do different things. So, I mean, that's an amazing story. Thanks for checking out Inside the Ring, where we bring you some of the hottest topics about sports, business, politics, current events, and so much more. We look forward to bringing you the content that matters.